Okay, that's great. And this evening is welcome. Just press the record button. This is our Transform Now nutrition clinic, the first one with Dominique Ludwig. And Dominique is amazing. She's behind me. You can't see her face. Here she is.
Hello.
No, you probably can't see me. I'm not. There we go. I'll just go like that. That's fine, and I'll move in a minute. So welcome everyone. Thank you for coming. Thank you for coming to the Cow Show this evening. Thank you for zooming in. Thank you for watching it on record. So this is a very special part of your program. Last night we spoke all about the yoga element, your energy, how you're going to carve out time in your day throughout the next 28 days. And whoever's got a noisy background, do you mind muting yourself? Just so everyone on record doesn't hear that. That'd be amazing. So tonight, Dominique is going to introduce herself and explain the nutrition aspect of the program so that you gain more energy. I'll let her talk about that. But Dominique is a very old friend. I've known Dominique for many, many years. She is the best of the best. And I always feel very privileged that she's part of this, part of Transform Now. She gives so much to us to be here to support this, and we're hugely grateful. And she's awesome. So you're in very safe hands. And I'll let Dominique, you introduce yourself properly. So thank you.
Hello, everyone. So I'm going to keep looking at all of you because I've got 6 of you here and 5 of you on the screen. So welcome. I'm Dominique Ludwig. As Nikki's probably said, I'm a nutritionist and have been for 30 years. I'm a nutritional therapist and have been for nearly 20 years. I'm still studying with the Institute of Functional Medicine. I work out of a couple of clinics, one at home and one over in Chichester at the Mayo Clinic. And I'm also the founder of Renew, Reset, Recharge, a big nutrition program. But I'm here tonight to bring some knowledge of nutrition into the course so that you can align that with the yoga you're doing, because obviously it's all, our health's a bit like a jigsaw puzzle, and you know, we've got our lifestyle, our exercise, the food we're eating, the water we're drinking, how much sleep we're getting, the yoga we're doing, it all fits together, and they're all small parts of our health. So from what I've done for you is I've just put together something simple. What I didn't want it to be is overwhelming, and then it be something that when you set the bar too high, you then feel like you're immediately going to fail, and immediately it's all too much and you can't do it. And I want you to feel relaxed with it, and you know, it's just food. This is just food. So if you mess it up for a day, it doesn't matter, because you've got 21 meals in the week. If you mess up one night, it doesn't matter. You just get back on it and just eat healthily the rest of the day. So what I want to run through is the program itself, and then lots of common mistakes and lots of little quick wins you can get with improving your health through nutrition. And it can be really quick. And I'm just going to tell a story. So last week, I had somebody who'd done 2 days on one of my nutrition programs. And she was on one of my Zoom calls. It was a group Zoom call. She said, I can't believe it. I can't believe it. I've done every program under the sun. And she said, I can honestly tell you, it's been 2 days. She said, I have more energy. I'm not hungry. I feel happier than I've felt in months. The list just kept going on. She couldn't stop raving. And this was just 2 days. So don't underestimate what you're eating. It can make you feel anxious. It can make you feel settled. It can make you sleep well. There's so much that our nutrition can do outside of just providing food. So sometimes we just think about food as a, you know, oh, I'm just eat something because I just need energy. So we grab a piece of toast and Marmite. It gives us the energy short term, but we have to think of food differently. Food, I see food as a train. It's like a train delivering all the nutrients you need into your body. And our body doesn't work without any of these nutrients. So it's all the zinc and magnesium and chromium, all these things run all the chemical reactions in our body. So your thyroid won't run unless it's got selenium, zinc, iron, B vitamins. And so if you haven't got all of them in the right amounts, it's not going to work as well. So we have to start thinking about food as nutrients and not just about something I'm going to grab at the BP garage because I'm a bit peckish on the way home from work. And I think it's trying to think, what does my body want, rather than you know, what tastes nice and is full of loads of chemicals that are designed by neuroscientists to make me want more of them. So let's start with your program. So your program, I've kept it simple. I've given you loads of delicious recipes. I think you've got about 42 recipes. I've set you up a meal plan. You don't have to stick to this. You can switch it around as much as you want. Lunches and dinners are completely interchangeable. There is absolutely no point in saving your food to the end of the day, and there's no point in eating it all at lunchtime. So they're equal amounts of food actually at lunch and dinner, because lunchtime we've got the whole of the afternoon to get through. How many times do we get through the afternoon at 4 o'clock? We're like, oh, I'm starving, and you end up eating loads of stuff before your dinner. It's always because we didn't get lunch right when that happens. So we have to just have the confidence to eat a bit, you know, as much at lunchtime as we would in the evening, and then it stops the snacking in between. But I'm going to come to that. So hopefully you've got some ideas with the meals. You've also got a blank page as well, so you can write your own. So as I start talking, I may give you ideas and you think, oh great, I can still have this and that, and I can, you know, there'll be lots of things that you're already making that will fit into the program. It's more about just, let's just say this is sort of tidying up what you're doing for the time being. So where does it all go wrong? So where do I see it all going wrong in clinic? I get so many patients and clients that come and see me that say, well, the problem is they've got low energy levels, they're hungry all the time, they're anxious, they've got stubborn weight gain they can't lose, bit of bloating or a bit of irritable bowel, bit of constipation, bit of diarrhea, hormones are a bit wonky, and they're getting a lot of PMS or menopausal symptoms. So this is kind of what I see all the time, and there's a reason for it. So one of the biggest things we do wrong, without even realizing, through no fault of our own, I have to say, because, you know, the supermarkets don't help us, but it's all about proportion. So I'm going to give you an example. So when we're eating food, it's the proportion of the fats to the proteins to the vegetables. And I'm not going to bore you with this, but so let's imagine we're going to have for breakfast. Yeah, some people come and see me. This is literally what happens all the time. People say, I'm really healthy. I have a low sugar granola at breakfast, and then I put a dollop of yogurt on it, low fat yogurt, and then I put, I don't know, a sprinkling of blueberries because they're quite pricey, so I don't, you know, just put a sprinkling of them on. And then it doesn't fill me up, and so I keep eating more granola, trying to fill myself up. But then at 11 o'clock, I'm starving again. So this is a really good tale of proportion. So we've got loads of carbs going on here with all the cereal, very little fats and proteins in the dollop of yogurt, and then a little bit of berries. If you turn that around and you have a big bowl of full fat yogurt, ditch the low fat, go on to full fat because it keeps you fuller for longer and you eat less in the long run. So full fat yogurt, 100 grams of blueberries, they can be frozen, you know, you can get them, I don't care where you get them from, you can get them from Aldi and Lidl, they're quite good as well. And then just, you know, just put a sprinkling of seeds or granola on there. What you've done is you've completely changed the way you're going to eat that meal. What's happened is you're going to use that energy from the yogurt throughout the morning. So I'm going to explain why this happens without getting too complicated. So I'm going to make it a bit fun. The reason this happens is because we have something called insulin, which is like the three-headed dog in Harry Potter, right? So we want it there because it's quite, insulin helps keep our blood sugars stable. So we need it there, but we don't want to keep waking it up. And the thing is, when we have lots of carbohydrates or we keep snacking, what happens is we wake up the three-headed dog. And the three-headed dog does three things, all of which we do not want to happen. So we have that big bowl of granola. The three-headed dog has woken up, and then it instructs your body to take all of that sugar out of your bloodstream because it's just all got turned into sugar, and it's packed it away into your fat stores. So that's what it's been told to do. Number one, get it out of the bloodstream. So now we're going, well, what do we do? Okay, we'll stick it all over the fat stores. The next thing the three-headed dog is, it's like one thing for each of the heads, actually. And then the middle head of the three-headed dog says, this is great, but let's keep it in the fat stores because obviously food is abundant now. So we don't want to waste it. So we've now stuffed it onto our hips and bum, and now we're being told to keep it there. But the last problem is that we're now hungry again because we've just taken all the sugar out of our blood. So now we feel anxious, hungry, whatever, and we're going straight back into the kitchen to go and see what we want to eat. And it's not because we're being greedy, we are physically hungry again. So this is what I call the three-headed dog scenario. Whereas if you have the yogurt with all 100 grams of berries, sprinkling of nuts and seeds, what you're doing is you will raise your blood sugars slightly, but you don't wake the three-headed dog. So what happens is you use that energy slowly throughout the morning rather than packing it away on the fat stores, which allows you to have slow release energy. So you're not grabbing a muffin and a cappuccino at 11 o'clock and feeling terrible. So it's trusting yourself to eat a little bit more at your meal times, but getting the proportions right. The other example of that would be something like soup and bread. And how many people just say, oh, I hear it all the time. At lunch, I just have this great soup with some sourdough bread. But then you go, well, does it fill you up? And they're like, well, no, I'm like hungry 2 hours later. So if you look at my Instagram, I've just done 3 posts on this about saying, put your protein in the soup. If you have a soup and bread, you're going to be hungry. If you add spicy chili chickpeas or lots of seeds that you've just fried up with some curry powder, or you add, today I had a beetroot and butternut squash soup and I put loads of feta cheese in it. So you don't think about food all afternoon, but it's not only that you don't think about food, what you've done is you've stabilized your blood sugars, which stabilizes your mood, which stabilizes any anxiety, which increases your serotonin. And so it's not just, it's how you feel, it changes the way you feel on an hourly basis. So it's really important to, it's not always what we're eating, it's how we're eating it. So it's just how you put the food on your plate. And that's what I'm going to try and give you a few tips with. So the next thing, so this brings me on to snacking. So those of you that know me well, I have a no snacking rule. If anyone's trying to lose weight, there's a bit of a no snacking rule. Unless you're pregnant, you've got adrenal fatigue, you've got, kidney disorders, or, if you've got something big, tell me. But what I try and get people to do really is say, look, we can all go 4 to 5 hours without food. It's really not going to kill us. We do have fat from the fat stores that we can tap into. And eating 3 meals a day gives you energy. I know it's hard to imagine that, but it gives you more energy than when you snack. When you snack, you're zapping your energy. Every time you put food in your mouth, you go into fat storage. And that means that when we're running through the kitchen and we just grab, I don't know, a corner of the flapjack the kids have left out, or I don't know, it could be a handful of crisps or a little corner of chocolate, whatever it is that we sort of absent-mindedly throw in our mouths every time we walk through the kitchen. And I do this too sometimes. I mean, I can walk out the kitchen like a hamster because I've eaten loads of cashew nuts or something, and you think, well, why did I do that? But every time we put food in our mouth, we're switching on that sort of fat storage system. So if we try and leave the gaps between meals, all these are made. So this is sort of moderate intermittent fasting, which is, and I would say for women, don't go over 14 hours at night. The thing with intermittent fasting is lots of people say, oh, you need to do 16 hours to make it work. You need to, or some people say you need to have 1 meal a day. I don't agree with that because I don't see that necessarily in the science. I don't necessarily see it for women. And I think women don't do well on a really long fast. But if you're going to go to bed anyway, what you want to do is let the food get out of your digestion 3 hours before you go to bed. Just because you've stopped eating doesn't mean it's left your stomach. So if you've just had a meal, or you've just, just locking the doors, putting the dogs to bed, and then just having a quick, bit of cheese and biscuits just before you go up to bed, that's not the best thing to do. So what you want to do is get the food through the stomach, get it through, so it's in the small intestine, and then you'll start to, because then a magical thing happens. I don't know if you know this, but your small intestine, where all the little villi are, it's a bit like velvet. When you stop eating food, it does this dance called the migrating motor complex, is what it's called. And it does this flutter, and it flutters all the old bits of food, all the old bacteria, which can make us bloat if we don't get them out of our system. We want to get all that bacteria through. Your small intestine should be, all the bacteria virtually leaves your small intestine when you fasted, and then it all comes back again when we eat food. But it's this fluttering motion that cleans. It's like a spring clean, and it can't do that if you've just eaten cheese and biscuits and jumped into bed. So it will improve your sleep doing that as well. So if you can, try not to snack. That's a really good bit of advice. I've actually got some notes here because I don't want to forget to tell you anything. So rather than keep telling you what to eat, what should we not be eating? So I'm going to read this because these statistics are quite scary. So 60% of our children get their energy, sorry, not 60% of our children, 60% of the energy our children eat comes from processed and ultra-processed food. That's 65% in teenagers, and 1 in 5 adults get over 50% of their energy from processed foods. So I find that quite staggering because there is actually no such thing as children's food. I don't want to alarm anyone, but there is children's food. They're just little adults. They don't need cheese strings and sugary yogurts, and they don't need feeding continually like a dog with treats. They just need they need the same sort of thing we do, just in slightly smaller quantities. But what is processed and ultra processed food? So processed food is actually not all bad for us. Processed food is things like tinned beans, making cheese from milk, yogurt is processed food. So sometimes processing can help us. It can help us have foods that are out of season or whatever. Ultra processed foods are really anything that comes with a long ingredients list, anything in there you can't pronounce. If you can't pronounce it and you don't use it in your cooking and you don't have sodium benzoate just in your spice drawer, it's probably an ultra processed food. Bread, most supermarket bread is an ultra processed food. Anything that comes in a plastic bag in a cardboard box, anything that's a muesli bar, a packet of processed cereal, like all breakfast cereals are ultra processed foods. They are like rocket fuel, and they're not going to fill you up because they just don't have the protein and fats in them. So ready meals, pizza, margarine, packet soup mixes, tinned soups, all those things are ultra processed foods. The problem with ultra processed foods is that they are lacking fibre, they're lacking a lot of protein because protein is expensive, so you don't want to put too much of that in it. So even if you're doing like I mean, how many times have you bought a lasagna and then found it's mostly slop, a few bits of meat in it and lots of pasta? It's they skimp on all the stuff that's really good for you and the expensive bits, so you're not always getting the nutrients. And again, that's thinking about the train and thinking about getting the nutrients. So want you to try and cut down on your sugar. For people that think, oh my gosh, this is me, I'm like Mrs. Snacker and Mrs. Sugarfix, and the type of person that's got the sweets and you're nibbling them in the car and then you throw them in the back seat and think, right, I'm not going to have them, and then spend the next 15 minutes driving like this trying to get them back from the back seat again. Even if that is you, it has been me before as well, I have been known to do that as well. Try to cut down on your sugar. It will be hard work for the first 3 or 4 days. What you should find after that, and this is what people tell me all the time, they say, I'm just not craving it. When you eat proteins, fats, vegetables, you stop craving the sugar. The only reason you're craving the sugar is because you haven't eaten enough at your last meal. There hasn't been enough protein and fats. You haven't had enough vegetables. So vegetables are really clever. So I always say have half a plate of vegetables, 250 grams at lunch and at dinner. See if you can do that. It's half a plate, 2 fistfuls if you don't have any scales, because that works whatever size you are. 2 fistfuls is like each one sort of a bit more than a portion of veg, but it's really 2.5 portions of vegetables. What vegetables do is they act like an assault course in your gut. So they kind of get in the way of the digestion. They make this sort of vegetable assault course. So when you do have any carbohydrates, it takes you longer to absorb them. They can't get through the assault course and straight into your bloodstream, which means you don't wake the 3-headed dog. So vegetables really good for you every meal. If you can try and up your veg, you're going to have masses of antioxidants. You're going to really, power up your energy as well. You've got all those phytonutrients in there that are so good for you. So trying to up your veg. So your plate really should look like roughly half a plate of vegetables, 1/4 of a plate of protein. So that can be, it can be meat or fish or shellfish. It could be eggs. It could be cheese. It could be chickpeas. You'll see all these in my recipes. It could be tofu. It could be nuts and seeds. It's trying to get the protein in there and try and make sure it's about the size of your palm, just the sort of small part of your palm. So if you try and have a good amount of protein in your meal, the other 1/4 of your plate, you can use it really for, I kind of use it for things like avocado, a bit of sweet potato, might be a bit of sourdough bread or some oat cakes, might be some black lentils that I've just cooked in stock and I put them on the side. So that's sort of your carb and healthy fats area. Don't skimp on dressings, but don't buy dressings. There's lots of really lovely dressings that you can try, and I've probably got lots on my Instagram. I've got loads of dressings. I think I did loads in the summer, some really nice ones like peanuts, spicy dressings, and all sorts of things. Make a nice dressing. Just Google it and find some nice dressings, because that will liven up all your salads. So what else would I say to you? I would say breakfast. Let's jump onto breakfast. Let's say get breakfast right. If you can get breakfast right, you'll probably get the rest of the day right. If you have bran flakes, slice of toast and a glass of apple juice. People think, well, that sounds pretty good, doesn't it? I'm thinking that'll keep me regular and be really good. It's actually 17 teaspoons of sugar. And you only have 4 grams of sugar in your bloodstream at any one time. So if you're having bran flakes, slice of toast and a small glass of apple juice, you've now got 17 teaspoons of sugar in your bloodstream, which will definitely wake the 3-headed dog. So you'll end up storing it as fat, you'll be starving by 11 o'clock and it'll all go wrong from there onwards. So you don't have to necessarily change your breakfast. You've got 14 breakfasts here to play with. You're going to find one of them that you like, but you can adapt what you're already doing. You can say, look, I like porridge, but which is maybe a little bit too much carbs. What I tend to do with porridge is cut down the oats a bit, and then I add loads of full fat yogurt. So sometimes if I do soaked oats, I halve the oats, add 100 grams of full fat yogurt, and then I'd add sunflower seeds, pumpkin seeds, flax seeds, chia seeds, adding lots of bits, so that adds the proteins and the fats. You want to feel really quite satisfied, not stuffed, but you want to feel like I can have another 2 spoons if I wanted to, but that was good. So, or you might say, well, if you're always a toast person and some of these recipes are a bit far, just put protein on your bread. Cut the bread down in half. If you have 2 slices of toast, have 1. And instead put some smoked mackerel on it, or 2 scrambled eggs, peanut butter, apple slices. You can do something like that. It's just trying to find a protein that you can put on top of it. So if you start your breakfast right, you'll find less need to snack in the mid-morning. You should try and get your breakfast so you can go to lunchtime with barely thinking about food. And that's not to say you won't be hungry at your next meal. You'll be like when we were children, you think, oh, that's nice, it's another meal's coming, I could eat again, but you shouldn't be starving. So I would say try and get your breakfast right. I suppose the next thing I would say is please don't count calories either. This is my big one. I never ever count calories. I used to, in my 20s, I could probably tell you the calories and everything. I've learned that was a complete and utter waste of time. The thing with calories is that if you need to put the calories on something, it's normally a processed food, or and the thing with processed foods is, again, you absorb all the calories. So anything you get out of a plastic bag in a cardboard box type of food, or it's a packet of sweets, it might say, I don't know, this Mars bar's got 250 calories. You will absorb all 250 calories and you will wake up the 3-headed dog. And the 3-headed dog will make you, hide it away all over your tummy and thighs or whatever, and then you won't be allowed to use it again. It'll just stay there. Whereas if you had half an avocado or even a whole avocado, you would process it very differently. Firstly, you'd only absorb 70% of the calories. So 30% would be wasted in digesting the food. Some of it becomes food because it's fiber for the bacteria in our small intestine. Some of it we just poop out because we just don't digest it, but also it keeps us fuller for longer because we're using that energy again. It's not waking up that 3-headed dog. So please don't count calories. There is no right or wrong amount of calories. I always say if you stop counting calories and you start eating food in the right proportions, you often eat less calories because you're not even thinking about it, because you're not hungry. So we do need the proteins and the fats to fill us up. So I think that's really important. Have I got lots? How much longer have I got?
Transcript I use, brilliant. Yeah, keep going. 15 minutes.
Oh, okay. That's good. It's loads of time. So I think that's everything I wanted to say on the process. Apart from I think that really important, because I think the thing with the processed, again, what I'm saying about the counting calories is that you're not getting nutrients. So yes, a packet of rice cakes doesn't have many. We're sort of tempted for the wrong reason. So you arrive in Waterloo and you've got to get the train home, you don't know what to eat. So you'll have a packet of rice cakes with salt and vinegar flavour or something because they're low in fat, right? And they're going to be, they'll be great, right? But all they do is they wake up the 3-headed dog and then you're hungry again and you haven't got, and your body's going, well, where's the, that was basically polystyrene you've just given me. Where's the, where's the protein? Where's the fats? Where's the magnesium? Where's all these nutrients that nourish us? And just onto that, which nutrients are we missing? We're all women, aren't we, today? How many women do I see in clinic that are low in magnesium, low in iron? I mean, sometimes rock bottom iron stores that don't get picked up by the doctor until you're at virtually, horizontal. You know, you can be in range, but you may not be optimal. So iron levels, we look at the stores, and you know, if you're down by 20, you want to be 70 to 100 on your, you know, which is, and by 20, the doctors still say, well, you're still you're not in range for them, and that they don't need to give you iron tablets. But if you went the next day and were 19, then they'd say, well, now we need to give you iron tablets. So it's we need to be careful with iron, we need to be careful with magnesium and zinc, and B vitamins. You know, we forget sometimes that we're not getting quite enough B vitamins, and they are really necessary for hormonal health as well. So we've got B6 and zinc and magnesium, really important. So they basically run your hormone system. So if you're lacking any of them, it can be an issue. So I think the thing is, real food, we're going to cut down on sugar, cut down on the ultra processed, stop snacking, and that's already loads. I mean, you may not even be able to cope with that because you think, right, it's too much. I just want to talk a little bit more actually about fast overnight. So this thing about fasting overnight, so that 14 hours, we talked about the little dance that our gut does, but there's some really exciting other things that happen. It's when our body stops digesting food, we switch on a process in our body called autophagy. And autophagy is where we repair and regenerate. So our body, what we're looking for is we're looking for broken and defective parts of our body, and then we go and replace them. So that's the repair. And that happens when we stop eating food. That is when we start to repair our body. So what we notice is that our skin becomes better, our eyes become brighter, our immune system might become stronger, we're rebalancing. So it's a really important time not to be eating. And it also, when we do have these fasts, it also increases your mitochondrial functions. Your mitochondria are they're little bits of your cell that make energy. But when you think, oh, they're just little, I used to think, oh, they're just bits of the cell. They just, you know, they just make a bit of energy. I went to a lecture in America and nearly fell off my chair, and I was told it was 10% of my body weight was made up of mitochondria. So you have to get your head around that. 10% of your body weight is the mitochondria that make our energy. And when we leave fasts overnight, we start to generate more mitochondria. So it might be 11% of your body weight's even better, because then they're generating energy to make us feel on fire, like we've got the energy to get through the day. The more food we eat, the sloppier they get, because they just think, well, the food just keeps on coming. I don't need to keep generating more cellular energy. So that's really important. That's one of the benefits of intermittent fasting. So it just helps us to rebalance and helps us go into fat burn. It teaches us how to go into fat burn, and you don't have to be, even if you're slim, you still want to go into fat burn, because you want this constant flow. You want to be able to eat food, store food as fat, and then be able to use it again. That's, again, without the three-headed dog. The three-headed dog says, no, you shall store the food all over your hips and you shall not use it. That's not what we want. We want to store a little bit, but in a natural way, that we can then get it out of the fat stores when we need it. That's the ability to get through meals. I think that's what one of the ladies said that I spoke to last week. That was the other thing she said, was on day 2, she was a snacker. And she said, I forgot to have lunch until 3 o'clock in the afternoon, because I forgot I was hungry. So it's very interesting how it affects our body. So what else did I want to say? I wanted to talk about, so we've talked a little bit about your plates. So your breakfast is breakfast, try and have protein and fats at breakfast. Just try and think where you can add nuts and seeds, where the full fat Greek yogurt can go. Maybe switch to eggs in the morning. People think, oh, eggs, they're terribly fattening, aren't they? Eggs, people hear that all the time. Can't eat an egg for breakfast. It was a bit much for a Wednesday. An egg's got about 80 calories, right? So 2 eggs have got 160. Your Cocoa Pops, well, I'm not saying we eat Cocoa Pops, but a bowl of Cocoa Pops would have a lot more than that and not fill us up. So don't shy away from eggs. They don't really raise your cholesterol. I haven't seen any decent research that's really substantiated that. That was just a bit of 1980s hype. So you can have eggs for breakfast, but how about you cook, I don't know, 100, 150 grams of peppers and onions and throw 2 eggs in and make an omelette. Make it a meal. Some of my clients say, oh, I've just had half a salmon fillet, a load of kale, I put some soy sauce on it, and I made it into, I had that for breakfast. You've got to remember that we're, the Western world are the only culture really that has sweet breakfast. We never used to, and I don't know that we did, particularly before Mr. Kellogg's came along. I'm not quite. We used to really have, a lot more savoury breakfasts. So it's quite a new thing, having all this sugar at breakfast time. So if we try and do the breakfast right, and you've got you know how to do your plate now at lunch and dinner. One question that always comes up is, oh, what about teas and coffees and things like that? And you can do, but don't turn it into a grown-up milkshake. You know, if you're going for the grown-up milkshake Starbucks style at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, you probably haven't had enough for lunch. If you're going to have a big frothy coffee like that, have it after your meal. So again, when I say have 3 meals a day, have like 3 windows a day, and they can be an hour long if you need to be, or I think 45 minutes is enough. But everything, any sweet food you have after your meal will not raise the 3-headed dog, will not wake it in the same way it would if you had it mid-morning, because you've got this obstacle course, right? So your lunch is then the obstacle course, and then you put a lovely little Powerball in on top, and it, you know, and it doesn't raise the blood sugars as much. Whereas if you put the Powerball in and there's nothing, it's just the stomach walls, it's going to be, you're just going to absorb it straight away. It's going to go sliding into the small intestine and straight into the bloodstream. So it's how we eat our food. So it's not saying don't have naughty stuff. Of course you can have naughty stuff, but try and make the naughty stuff better. So if you make, I've got tons of Powerballs on my recipes as well, all over the place on my Instagram, on my website, things like that, that you can just make some of those. And then, you know, you've got dates and almonds, and you've got Tam that makes all the nosh balls, so she's great as well. And hers are quite little, hers are smaller than mine, so you know they're even better for you. But have good sugar after your meal. What else? There's 2 other things I would say, 2 other little health tips that I would try and do. Number 1 is to make sure that your oils are right in your kitchen. So olive oil, extra virgin olive oil should be your absolute go-to. The reason we like olive oil is because it's got all these bitter compounds in it, and those bitter compounds are antioxidants and they're cardioprotective. So I just had someone the other day say, oh, no, I don't like olive oil because it tastes, because of all the bitter bits. And I'm going, but that's the good bit. So she bought the like light yellow one, you know, the olive oil. I'm going, well, that defeats the object, because the reason why we're having olive oil is because it's cardioprotective. There was some research recently to show that when people had a litre of olive oil every 2 weeks, their risk of cardiovascular disease went down, as did their weight. So there's something weird going on about what we're doing with the absorption, I think, of olive oil. I think we need a bit more research on that, but it's definitely good for us in lots of ways. And what I want you to get out of your kitchen is sunflower oil, those seed oils. So olive oil is pressed. You just gently press the olives, extra virgin olive oil, and out comes the oil. It's a very natural process. Seed oils, very different story. They were first designed to be fuel for tractors on agricultural land. So that's how we came to sunflower oil. That's where we got the idea from. But you can't just press a seed. What you have to do is you have to use solvents, use heat, use pressure, and then you get this oil out, which is so disgusting apparently that you then have to deodorize it and filter it because it just tastes so awful before you can get it into the bottles. But the thing with sunflower oil is why people say, I know the government still say that eat lots of vegetable oils. It's completely, the new science coming in is absolutely saying do not eat sunflower oils, even at all. Actually, they're just saying they're really not good for us, and we should really be absolutely cutting them out of our diet, because they will be in everything else in the supermarket. So just not using them in the kitchen would be a great advantage. The problem is they're very high in omega-6. And omega-6 is inflammatory in the body. It drives pro-inflammatory pathways. And we need lots of omega-3s to oppose it. But they're also very unstable in heat. So while they do have a high flash point, it's the polyunsaturated fats in them that are really unstable. So it's a very long-winded way of saying you can. So olive oil, can you cook in olive oil? Do you know, I checked this out again today because I was getting trolled on my Instagram. Someone who thought they were on Twitter, who had absolutely no idea what they were talking about also, so I decided to leave the conversation. But the thing with olive oil is you can cook with olive oil. You absolutely can heat it because it's got all the antioxidants in it. It's almost protecting itself. As long as you don't bring an oil to smoke point, that's the thing you don't want to do. When you sit on, when you go over and do something else, then you come back and it's all smoking because you've forgotten about it. That's where I get the kitchen towel and start again. So don't have it if it's smoking, but you can cook in olive oil. Just don't make the temperature too high. If you want to go super high with your cooking temperatures because you've got meat, then use something like ghee or coconut oil or something that's really stable in those high temperatures. But I think every Italian will tell you that it's absolutely gobbledygook. You can't cook in olive oil, and I've not seen any decent research to support that. So olive oil is the one to have because it's a neutral oil, it's got omega-9, it's monounsaturated, which makes it more stable anyway to cook with. And leading on from that, so is the omega-3. You know, that's the other thing that people are terribly deficient on. When I do that omega-3 to omega-6 ratio, so omega-3s form parts of your cell membranes, your brain tissue, your nervous system. We need omega-3s. 70% of the dry weight of your brain is omega-3 fats, and we don't eat enough because it's all sort of left the food chain. Really, we're getting this massive influx of vegetable oils, which is omega-6. It's a bit like a seesaw, and the omega-3s are right down here. And people that have never eaten oily fish, it's sometimes shocking when I get the ratio should be about 2 to 1 of omega-6 to 3, and I've had people that don't eat fish can go as high as 40 to 1, so that's quite can be quite excessive.
So only in fish, omega-3.
So let's talk about that. So where do you get your omega-3? The best source if you eat fish is from oily fish, because it's in the form of what we call DHA and EPA. They're the active forms. They turn up in your body in their overalls ready for action. They start working straight away. You can do it from a plant base, but you can get it in chia seeds, linseeds, hemp seeds, things like that. But it's in another form. It's called alpha linolenic acid, and your body has to do a lot of converting to get that into EPA and DHA. Some of the research studies show that only 5 to 8% can get converted into the active form. So if you are on a plant-based diet, anyone, then I would recommend that you take an algae omega-3 fish supplement, because that's really well absorbed. That's the only plant form that actually is in its active form already. So that's got loads of DHA in it. So the thing about oily fish as well is it's cheap. You know, you can buy tins of mackerel, sardines, anchovies, all these things I think there's going to be a massive run of them next year as people are, you know, as the cost of living crisis hits, because these are sustainable fish. So we have got enough of them, and they're also the low toxin fish. And the way you choose your oily fish is you think smash. You think sardines, mackerel, anchovies, wild salmon and herring. And they're the abundant fish, so that you don't have to feel quite so bad about when you have them. But you can get them tinned. You know, just go to a supermarket and get tinned in olive oil, not in sunflower oil.
I wish I liked them. I
Yeah,
really,
yeah.
I'll cut. No, that's a turn my stomach thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's really annoying because they're so.
But then just take a fish oil supplement or something. You just take the way if you say, you know, sometimes they can repeat on you, and some people say, oh, I've just done a fish and burp. It's like just have a capsule. Have it in the middle of your meal. Just have it in the middle and then stuff some more food on top, so it's not like sitting on the top of your stomach ready to be burped up. Yeah. So, or you take the algae form. But yeah, eating 3 or 4 times a week, trying to eat some fish. If you really don't like the taste of it, so I've got some. I do a recipe where I mix butter beans, tinned mackerel and roasted butternut squash together, and then putting a bit of either some flour or chickpea flour or whatever you want in there, make them into little patties and cook them like fish cakes.
Yeah.
So it's like fish cakes instead of the potato, I put the butternut squash, but it could be sweet potato. But if you've got the beans in there, again, you're slowing down the digestion. Don't wait for food, have a dog, you know, just the beans slow everything down because of the fibre, the salt core, you know, it's all how it all makes sense. But then you've got a fish cake that's suddenly healthy. You know, if you go out and have a fish cake in a pub, it's 90%, you know, potato. Let's face it. Whereas that way you can sometimes you can get the fish in, but without the fishy taste. If you put some capers in there or chopped gherkins, if you can cope with them, something else just to distract the flavour. So yeah, I think if you do all that, you're going to be on fire after 28 days. So I think they're all my sort of that's probably enough hints and tips for you.
Without saying bullet coffee, because I know a few people were asking about.
Oh, the bullet coffee. Who wants to do bullet coffee? Okay, so bullet coffee. Okay, I don't think I put a recipe. Did I put a recipe in here? I didn't. So bullet coffee. This is how you make bullet coffee. You take a shot of. Well, you take a coffee, just as much as you want, and the reason people do this is because it doesn't take us out of our fast. So if we've got a 14-hour fast, say we've had our last meal at 8 o'clock in the evening, we fancy something before 10 o'clock because we've got a big meeting and we need our heads to be screwed on right, you might go for a bullet coffee because the fats in there somehow manage to bypass the way we absorb them. So they bypass our digestion and almost sneak in through the back door. So our body doesn't actually notice. So it depends what, it's the fats you're putting in there. So there's this fat called MCT oil, which is medium chain triglycerides. Get this from a health food store, and it's a coconut oil, but it's not just regular solid coconut oil. It's got a particular chain length from that. I think it's the lauric acid it's in there. And what that chain length is, it's the exact length that can get straight into our cells and makes the energy from fat. So what you do is you get your coffee and you get a tablespoon. You can put a couple of tablespoons of the MCT oil in. Put it in a NutriBullet or a bullet blender, or a stick blender, whatever you've got, and whiz it up, and it will go frothy, and it will look like a latte. You can put a bit of organic butter or something in there as well, like a knob of that too. And it does, it's like they call it brain octane fuel, the MCT oil. It doesn't work for everyone, but it can give some people a real high. And it's really good if you've got dry lips as well, because it's kind of like lip gloss as well, with all the oil as you're drinking it. But is it food? It's not food. So I don't want you to think, oh, I'm skipping breakfast and having that, because there's no fiber, there's no protein. We've got to be careful what we're exchanging. You can't just keep robbing Peter to pay Paul all the time. We need to think about our nutrition as well. But if you just need to pick me up in the afternoon, for example, you can go for it and see if you like it. So that's bullet coffee, and that's why some people have it.
And how much water a day?
How much water? So I don't know. I used to make people drink a hell of a lot more than I do now. There was a calculation that was about 35 mils per kilo of body weight, but anyone that was overweight, it was making them drink about 3.5 litres a day, which is actually impossible. So I would say in winter, aim for 2 litres. In summer, if you're out and you're cycling or you're doing stuff, 2.5, but 2 litres for most women is a good amount to go for. And that's not, that's not sugar-free squash all day. And, that's where it goes all. That's why the diet clubs, to me, don't really work, because this, it's about teaching people skills and tricks that you can have for the rest of your life. It's not about switching your water, because then you're on a diet and you're deprived, right? So you're just looking for, what can I replace that with? And then it's sugar-free squash all day. But sugar-free squash is just, and I know this because I've worn a blood sugar monitor, so I've tested this out. And what happens when you have sugar-free, Diet Coke, diet drinks, what happens is your body gets the message, this is sweet. Your brain, your taste buds, and all these, we have all these sensors in our throat, send a message to your brain to go, this is sugar. Wake the 3-headed dog. This is serious. It doesn't know that it's sugar-free. So it hits your stomach. The 3-headed dog says, right, make loads of insulin. And we make lots of insulin, but there's no sugar in our blood. So we've only got 4 grams anyway. So the 4 grams goes down in our blood, and then we're starving again. So what I found, and I tested extensively in the 4 weeks I was wearing it on all sorts of things. But yeah, diet drinks just gave me a drop off in my blood sugars, and then I was more hungry and ate more than I would have done had I not had it. And the other thing that gave me the biggest high was a juice from the crates in Boston. They're great. I love the bar, but I had their green smoothie. That was the biggest sugar high I got because of all the apple juice in it. And that just sent my blood sugars through the roof. So yeah, just because it's healthy doesn't mean it's healthy. So look at the ingredients. Think, is there, where's all the sugar? If this tastes really sweet, it's sweet for a reason.
And herbal teas can count towards your water intake.
Yeah, if they're not too strong, if they're mild, like mountain tea or whatever. And yeah, I think just don't go, if you've got if you're drinking licorice and peppermint all day, you just got to remember herbal teas are they are herbs. So I had somebody that had, palpitation and God knows what, because they were having so much licorice and peppermint tea. Peppermint tea can give you acid reflux. It can affect the sphincter muscle. So just remember they're herbs. So don't just choose one type and keep on that all day.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
I didn't realise that.
Yeah, just mix them up a bit. But yeah, you can have them between. I mean, I'm not saying you can't snack if you need to. I'm just giving you my pearls of wisdom that I've learned over 20 years. And then, I'm not expecting you to go away and do all of this. I'm expecting you to pick up little pieces of it, and just even if you just change 2 things, that would make me. That's more than. It's about consistency. It's not about doing 28 days when I do this and then 11 months of rubbish. It's all about consistency. This is why I'm an absolute, diet hater and New Year's resolutions. I just think don't put the pressure on yourself. Just even if you do one thing and you do it 365 days a year, like yoga or whatever, it's going to be transformative. You know, just doing a week of yoga out of 52 is not going to change your life. What changes your life is doing it all year. If you have a really good breakfast every day for a year and it stops you snacking on all those biscuits mid-morning, that's going to be huge at the end of the year. So just think of the bigger picture. And if you want to know, if you want to know more, or you want to do, you know, I've given a really big discount code for anyone doing this course. If you want to, the Food Freedom is sort of my, you know, entry level course where I just give you food plans and things. If you want to know more and you want to, you know, do transform now and then you want to move on to renew, reset, recharge, I've got some vouchers in there where you can get £100 off the coach course or £50 off the online course, and that's a complete, I mean, I haven't seen a nutrition program that's as comprehensive as that online. In fact, other nutritionists are now buying my program, so it's got everything in it that you need. So that would give you, that's like the next step where you go, right, I can, you know, I'm out of the beginner's yoga and I'm now out of beginner's food freedom. I'm now onto the, if you want to know more, that's a really good course to do. And I do it coached. You can join me on a Wednesday lunchtime and I coach you through it as well. So in a group environment. So I won't talk too much about that, but we've got some discount codes, which I'm sure Nikki will make available. Yeah. So I think we should throw it up to Q&A. Questions? Okay.
I have one quick question about coffee in first thing in the morning. From everything you just said, I assume you have breakfast before you have your coffee.
Yeah, I would say, why are you having your coffee first thing in the morning? I would throw the question back at you. Is it because you feel like you just need waking up, or?
Yeah, just to wake up, getting out of bed.
Yeah. I think I always think when you change your diet, you wake up feeling less tired as well. But I would have a big glass of warm water, because probably you're dehydrated in the morning, and actually rehydrating yourself puffs up your red blood cells. They can carry more oxygen, whereas coffee shrinks them. So coffee does, I mean, I'm not saying coffee's bad, coffee's great, it's masses of antioxidants, it's quite good for us, but yeah, just drinking puffs up all your red blood cells again. Don't forget you're dehydrated, and you lose, if you weigh yourself before you go to bed and then you weigh yourself in the morning, you'll see the difference in your weight. That's just you just sweated a lot of that out. So yeah, puff the red blood cells up again and they'll carry more oxygen. But if you can have it after your breakfast, even better.
Yeah.
Or if you're going to intermittent fast, then, you know, it's not the end of the world. Black coffee is, you know, a bit like bullet coffee. It's sort of, but I think I see this a lot where a lot of women replace breakfast with a latte. Latte is not breakfast, ladies. it's a milkshake. But they're very nice to have, and you know, you can have lattes after your meal and with your breakfast and whatever. But don't replace breakfast with it. If you have 3 meals a day, you cut out the snacks, you'd be amazed how many little bits and bobs you save that you can then put into your meals and have much nicer meals.
So would you say latte obviously isn't breakfast, something like Wild Nutrition protein shake?
Yeah, protein shakes
with a non-dairy milk, then you're happy with that?
Yep, you can do protein powders and make them into a shake, add a couple of Brazil nuts for selenium to pick up your thyroid gland, add some frozen berries, make sure you've got your fruit and veg in there, throw a handful of spinach, a handful of frozen blueberries to chill it down.
You wouldn't put a banana in, that's the kind of easy.
Yeah, bananas with a sugar fix though, that one. I would say go for berries. Berries release that energy in a different way to other fruits. They give you a much less of a sugar rush. So bananas can be a bit, I think bananas about 5.5 teaspoons of sugar. You have a ripe banana, a big one. So just on that sugar. Yeah. Less. So again, the apples are quite good. Apples are nearly as good as berries, but only if you have them as an apple.
If you were to grate your apple and throw overnight oats for the sweetness, is that?
Yeah, it's okay, because you're having it with fats and with protein. So again, you've got the obstacle course arriving. So if you have an apple or apple juice on its own, it goes straight into the bloodstream. Have it after a meal or in your food, and it's different. So yeah, you can do that.
And if you were advising a man, would you have the same proportion on the proteins, fats, and vegetables? You know, your half plate.
Yeah, because they're. I said when you have, you know, 2 pistols, their fists are bigger, their hands bigger. You know, just have a bit more. But yeah, keep the proportion the same. You can add more if you're not. You know, if you're not trying to lose weight, you don't want to lose weight with this. Add things to your plate. Add walnuts. Sprinkle some feta over the top. Throw some pumpkin seeds in there. Put a dollop of hummus on the side. Just have it with your meal. because I get so many people saying, oh, I have my porridge at breakfast, but I saved the banana because I'd like that with my coffee at 11 o'clock. And they split the food up because it makes these sort of milestones in the day. You know, it's a bit like some people that go outside for a cigarette or something. It's the milestones in the day that give you something to look forward to next. So I get that as well. Sometimes you just want to get away from your desk or make a break, but yeah, just go and make a herbal tea or something, because actually you'll stop thinking about food, so you won't really be that bothered about it.
And that's right. And perhaps it'll be helpful to explain about how it's different for everybody. That some people feel incredibly hungry at the beginning. Some people don't, but it's quite consistent.
Well, I think it's when you start doing something new, you know, you can feel like someone's telling you what to do, and you know, and I'm not telling you what to do, I'm just giving you a toolbox. I'm saying, well, there's a toolbox and you can pick bits out of it if you want to. It's up to you, but yeah, when you stop snacking, and sometimes your body's got to get used to it, you've got to tap into those fat stores. So you have to teach your body how to do that again, because if we've been grazing constantly, we barely have to touch the fat stores, because we're just food is coming all the time. So you've got to teach your body to do that again. So I don't think it lasts more than about 3 to 5 days. And this isn't about, I'm not trying to get you all to lose weight, or I'm just trying to get you to eat healthier. So there's no limits on what you can have for lunch. I've said, yeah, roughly keep your proportions right. But if you needed 2 chicken breasts, then absolutely you could have 2 chicken breasts. You have what you eat, so you eat the right amount for you. Some people need less, some people need more. Some people, you know, like Nikki, can eat a lot and still be really slim. Other people that I see in clinic are bigger, but then eat a lot less. You know, it's all our metabolism. It's how we process that food. So we have to you just go with your body and how you feel, and learn what your body needs. That's the really important bit, because we're all different. And if you're, you know, if anything's not right, then obviously you come and speak to Nikki, all right, but this is just food, and there's no limit on what you can have. I'm just asking you to be creative and just try and, you know, make sure everything is fresh. You know, go to the supermarket, if it looks like a chicken, put it in the basket. If it looks like an apple, put it in. If it looks like, you know, something that's, I don't know, multi Cheerios, don't put it in. It's a really simple rule. Just anything fresh can go in. And you'll start off at the supermarket. I'm always like this when I'm scanning everything and thinking, oh my gosh, I've spent like £49 just in the vegetable department. but then it all, because you're not buying everything in the rest of the supermarket, once you've done the protein and the vegetables, you're kind of, and a few tins of beans, actually it all evens itself out.
And baked beans?
Baked beans, do you know what, I mean, I get, if I'm having children that don't eat their breakfast, I say, you know, if you can get your children to have a fish finger sandwich or beans on toast or eggs at breakfast, that's just count that as protein. I think some of the beans are a bit sort of sugary and processed, but if you could have them, I'm not saying they're a complete no-go, but more of a treat. What I do is I get a pan, I throw some olive oil in, throw a tin of chickpeas, throw some fajita spices in there, fry it up till they're crispy, and you can throw them on a salad, in a wrap, in your soup, and I've even dried them in an air fryer and have them instead of crisps. So, you know, just go back to basics, because the simpler you eat, the better you feel.
How do you feel about Hello Fresh and Gusto and those?
Yeah,
the way to break a habit and have somebody bring you the food.
well, it makes you cook from scratch, which is good. I think again they sometimes skimp on the proteins. So I think just being, I mean, it depends what you choose, I guess. And to be, you can just, I don't know, I mean, if you're doing a stir fry, just think, well, I'm going to have my piece of chicken. I know I've got to have this much vegetable. So I've got orange two, chopped up some onions and peppers, and I've stir fried it all with the chicken. I've got some soy sauce, ginger, garlic in there. There's not a lot of room on your plate for loads of rice and things, but it's just an improvised dinner. It's not really a recipe. So it doesn't have to be a recipe. You can literally go to the fridge and just, you know, make a salad, and then put your lovely, just think, I need my protein now, so I'm going to get that tin of mackerel, and I'm going to throw maybe some walnuts on the salad and make one of those really nice dressings, and then have a small piece of sourdough on the side, and that's lunch. It's not a recipe, so it's not on here because it's not a recipe, but make your own recipes, adapt your own recipes. But all the ones I put on here, I've tried to balance for you, so you haven't got to think about it.
Dominique, I'm not much of a breakfast person. I normally get up, have a coffee while I'm getting the kids ready, drop them off, and then I crack on with everything I need to do. And I don't normally eat till about lunchtime. And then I have like a, sorry, got extra here. And then like I'll cook like a home cooked dinner in the evening. Would you say that you need to have them 3 meals? Or if I'm sort of doing the intermittent fasting, is 2 enough?
I don't know, how do you feel?
Fine, yeah. Yeah, I'm not really a picker. My problem is a glass of wine in the evening. I usually go to, but
Be careful what you have in the evening with, you know, with just snacks that go with the wine. Just make sure your stomach's empty when you go to bed. If you do that, and I mean, some people do have 2 meals a day, and I do have people that do that. You just got to make sure you get all the nutrients in, right? You just got to make sure that when you do have lunch, it's not just then I wouldn't have just a bowl of porridge or something, and then I would go for, you know, I would go straight into lunch.
yeah. And the coffee, the bullet coffee, is that with milk?
No,
CT,
the oil puts up like milk, like so it's frothy. It's weird. It's sort of, I mean, try it. Just see if you can get a little thing of the MCT oil, or just do it with coconut oil to see if you like it. But then you get the proper MCT oil.
Okay.
Love it.
Right, perfect. Thank you.
Don't underfeed. I mean, lots of women I see don't eat enough. You know, just make sure you're eating enough food. You know, it's not good to starve yourselves. It's not good for our hormones, because it'll just drive up. The other thing that insulin does is it drives like estrogen up. So every time you wake the 3-headed dog, the other thing, if it had another head, it would say, right, raise your insulin and estrogen, sorry, raise your estrogen, and then so you end up estrogen dominant, and then you end up with all the, you know, night sweats or PMS and all those things as well. So just, yeah, stay nourished, ladies, is what I'm saying. Stay nourished, because your appetite will take over.
Have you got anything, sorry?
Oh, I was going to say, what about headaches? Because that's the bit that I notice I suffer from if I'm limiting in terms of. So I'm not getting something like clearly in balance.
I mean, you can get sugar can give you headaches. I mean, I'm not saying cut out coffee. But then you have to work out what it is that's giving you the withdrawal headache. What is it? It's because we detox when we burn fat. We get all the toxins that we store in our fat stores all the toxins that we don't know how to get rid of. We just stuff them in our fat stores because they're mostly fat soluble. So we start releasing them when we're losing weight, or if we're detox, you know, if we're eating 3 regular meals, our body's then using those fats, so it can give us those headaches as well. Probably sugar.
Yeah. But it's sugar that we've stored.
No, not sugar. It might be sugar. It's sugar that's giving you the headaches. No, but the toxins just in our fat stores, we release them as well when if we're losing weight. That happens. But I think just not having sugar can give you a cracking headache if you're really dependent on it. I had somebody that had headaches for I think 4 weeks when they cut out sugar. I know it went miraculously. So it can, don't underestimate sugar. Now, don't forget, we used to have like 80 grams a year. You know, you can have that, buy yourself a bag of Colin caterpillars, and you've doubled that in one sitting. I know, they're good. And then half a Colin caterpillar after your meal. That's what you do. Yeah.
Any questions at home?
Anyone else have a question, or are we all good for that?
Sorry, one more. Lemon in water. Some people say that's good, or some people don't recommend it. What would you?
Oh, I don't know. There's two. I mean, it's alkalizing in the body. It's quite cleansing for the kidneys. There's another train of thought that if you keep putting, you know, acid in your water, it's going to, you know, destroy the enamel on our teeth more than just water. I don't know. I'm pretty easygoing on it. I think it depends. I know a lot of dentists have said don't do it. But I think from a health perspective, I don't feel that strongly about it.
Okay.
But isn't anything, if you do it to an extreme, likely to have? So lemon and water 5 times a day in 2 years could be that could be a real habit.
Yeah. I'm not. Yeah, I think. Yeah, exactly. It's just, you know, people just get obsessive, don't they? I've got a friend that's like, this month she's on ice cream. She can't stop eating like low calorie ice cream. Next month it'll be like she's skinny, so she gets away with it. But next time it'll be, oh my God, how do you cope without dark chocolate? And she'll be eating, 3 bars of dark chocolate a day, and then it'll be something else. It's just sort of these extremes all the time that she's just really into one food and can't stop eating it. Yeah, just a little bit of everything, but not, all the good stuff, not all the, unhealthy stuff. I don't like saying bad food either. It's not that food's bad, and it's not that we should never have a packet of kettle chips or anything. Of course we can. You get resilient. So if you're doing this 80% of the time, sure, you can have a bit of naughty stuff. That's fine. But just getting the proportions right.
Dominique, can I ask about the intermittent fasting? Did you say 14 hours?
14 hours, I would say, is that's a pretty picture. I'm just showing you. Love it. 14 hours is kind of, I would say 12 to 14 is a good 12 is a good starting point if you've never done it before.
I don't think I'd ever get to 14. I was just thinking, oh,
just do what you can. This isn't the rules. I'm just saying in general, lots of people know about it, but I don't go, 12 is good.
Yeah.
Everyone can do 12.
Mm.
Just stop because you're sleeping for 8 of them, and if you're not eating on the sofa, that's another 3 hours gone. So it's only 1 in the morning when we're showering. That's doable.
Cool, thanks. And you mentioned your Instagram. How can we find you?
Oh, Dominique, Ludwig,
I
nutrition.
you in mind.
Cool.
We're tagged. Okay,
Let-
we're tagged.
I
Dominique, Ludwig,
have
nutrition.
my posts.
Okay.
It's true. She does, and I tag her too. So it's all.
So you'll see it.
Yeah.
And I'll
Grand.
Yeah, just a few more recipes on there, just a
But-
few more ideas.
But it is.
Yeah, there you go. She's
Got
done.
it.
I know one of my posts is going crazy. I've got like 160 more followers than yesterday.
Yeah, no, Dominique's Instagram is amazing.
Yeah.
Because you learn every time. You're always teaching. It's really useful. So it's one to follow. Highly recommend. Thank you. Any more questions? No. Thank you very, very much. Thank you, Dominique. Thank you, everybody at home, for zooming in. And I hope you have a lovely time, this evening. Think of everything. Think of the dancing. So gorgeous. That's a beautiful analogy. About your little intestine. So have a gorgeously wonderful breakfast. Enjoy your yoga practice whenever you fit that in. And I can't wait to see you again, feeling more energized.
6 o'clock on the mat.
Yeah, I'm absolutely boiling next to the fire. Yeah, there we go. Loads of love, everyone.
Well, thank you. Thanks, Dominique.
Thank you.
Thanks, Nikki. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.